Let's continue our program and recognize additional scholarship and award winners. I'll be announcing each of the award winners and ask that you hold your applause until after I have provided the highlights and background of the award, announce the awardee, and describe the awardee accomplishments. Then you can applaud. Number one, the Olin Teague Memorial Scholarship of $4,000 is awarded to an outstanding high school student who intends to pursue higher education in science and technology. This year's recipient is Mr. Jacob Blocker. That was only two. Number three, a senior at Oswego High School in Oswego, Illinois, Mr. Blocker is being recognized for his research on unconventional rocket propellant combinations. In Nature of Reverse Hybrid Rocket Engine Combustion, he explored strengths and shortfalls of propellant combinations that use solid oxidizer sources and gaseous liquid fuel, seldom used in rocket engines, Tory, while he concludes that reverse hybrid rocket propellants theoretically show potential to take the place of ordinary hybrid rocket in the future. More testing is needed, that's what all engineers say, especially about the internal engine pressure. His work serves well for future research. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jacob Blocker. Now, moving on from our scholarship winners, our next group of award winners was nominated and selected by the peers and leaders in each of their respective fields of expertise. Honoring the first director of the National Reconnaissance Office, the Dr. Joseph V. Charyk Award recognizes individuals who have made outstanding contributions to National Intelligence Space Program and specifically in support of the mission of NRO. This year's award goes to Colonel Timothy Lincoln. As Principal Deputy Director, as the Principal Deputy Director, Mission Operations Directorate at NRO, Colonel Lincoln consistently delivered transformational outcomes of national significance. His leadership in the stand-up of the National Space Defense Center and the establishment of an Integrated Enterprise Operations Center have significantly contributed to the resilience and survivability of NRO missions. The distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Lincoln reflect great credit upon himself, the NRO, and the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Timothy Lincoln. The NOAA David Johnson Award recognizes the achievements of young professionals who have shown outstanding innovation in the use of satellite data for operational environmental applications. This year's award is presented to Ms. Claire Porter. As the remote sensing lead and co-investigator at University of Minnesota's Polar Geospatial Center, Ms. Porter is recognized for her innovative contributions to the automated production of precise digital elevation models from commercial satellite-based imagery. She constructed time-dependent elevation data for the entire Arctic and Antarctic in just 3 years using Blue Waters, the world's largest supercomputer at an academic institution. Her achievements paved the way for the continuous production of global digital elevation models. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Claire Porter. The Space Club Educator Award was established to recognize the importance of teachers in motivating and guiding students. This year, we present this award to Mr. Andrew Fraknoi. Mr. Fraknoi, professor at the Fromm Institute at the University of San Francisco and emeritus chair of the astronomy department at Foothill College, is being recognized for his career as an award-winning astronomy educator, innovator, author, and key link communicating our expanding knowledge of the universe as it has unfolded over the past 4 decades. His books, textbooks, virtual curriculum, public activities, and interaction with students and audiences numbering in the thousands have inspired and engaged the American public in the exploration of space and the space enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Fraknoi. The The Astronautics Engineer Award is presented annually in recognition of an aerospace engineer who has made outstanding contributions to the National Space Program in the field of engineering or engineering management. Tonight, we honor Mr. Kirk Shireman, manager of the International Space Station Program at NASA's Johnson Space Center. Mr. Shireman is recognized for his leadership in the development of the International Space Station beginning in 2006, first as Deputy Program Manager, heading the station's design, assembly, and the final pressured module in 2011. Through his exceptional talent as an engineer, manager, and leader, Mr. Shireman has successfully led the space station program from assembly to utilization and now in the integration and execution. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kirk Shireman. The National Space Club's Press Award recognizes sustained, decades-long excellence in journalism that has both supported and underscored the importance of our nation's endeavors in space. This year, we acknowledge Space Editor of Aviation Week and Space Technology, Ms. Irene Klotz. For more than 30 years, Ms. Klotz has been reporting on America's space program and sharing her deep knowledge of the industry with the world. Currently, Ms. Klotz serves as a space editor for AvWeek. Before joining Aviation Week, she spent 25 years as a wire services reporter, covering human and robotic spaceflight, commercial space, astronomy, science, and technology for Reuters and United Press International. She also worked with Discovery Communications, Discovery News, and was a founding member of Space.com. Ms. Klotz's tremendous background and thorough understanding spans the entire depth and breadth of complex issues and technical programs of the space industry. From the early days of her career at Florida Today to her current editorial role at Aviation Week, Ms. Klotz's career has been an example of detailed professional space journalism at its best. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Irene Klotz. The Nelson P. Jackson Aerospace Award is presented to a government industry team that worked together during the preceding year to make an outstanding contribution to the missile, aircraft, or space field. Please join me in congratulating the Delta II program team. The team is represented on stage by President and CEO of United Launch Alliance, Mr. Tory Bruno, and Launch Director at NASA, Mr. Tim Dunn. From its origin as the launch vehicle for the first GPS satellites to NASA's Earth-observing science and interplanetary satellites to vital commercial communication imaging satellites, ULA's Delta II rocket has earned its place in history. First launching in 1989, the Delta II has been the industry workhorse, launching 155 missions, including 57 national security launches, 52 NASA science missions, and 46 commercial flights. That's the ULA table. The Delta II also holds the record for launching more satellites in a 90-day period than any other launch vehicle to date. 5 missions, 17 satellites from June 10 to August 17th of 1999. Its resume also touts several interplanetary trips, including NASA's Mars rover Spirit and Opportunity, the Messenger spacecraft to Mercury, the Phoenix Mars lander, Stardust, the planet-hunting Kepler Observatory, twin lunar orbiting Grail spacecraft. On its most recent and final mission, it delivered NASA's Ice, Cloud, and Land Elevation Satellite 2, ICESat-2, concluding an illustrious career with 100 consecutive successful launches through its almost 30 years of service. Once again, Tory Bruno and Tim Dunn of the Delta II program. The Eagle Man Mission Award was established in 1984 through a gift to the National Space Club and Foundation. This gift by AXA Space honors the heroism and achievements of the STS Mission 51A astronauts in recovering 2 failed satellites. Tonight, we honor NASA's Orion Parachute Systems Chief Engineer, Mr. Ricardo Koki Machin. Mr. Machin is recognized for completing Orion's final parachute drop test in September 2018. Orion's parachutes are critical to the safe return of astronauts from deep space missions. Rigorous ground testing and 47 flight demonstration tests push the system to its limits, culminating in the highly successful final qualification test. Knowledge gained through this test program has been shared with commercial spacecraft providers, ensuring reliable parachute system development across the entire portfolio of NASA's new human spacecraft. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ricardo Koki Machin. The General Bernard Schriever Award honors the father of Air Force space and missile programs. The award highlights excellence in military space operations and acquisition. Tonight, we recognize Lieutenant Colonel Robert Johnson, Chief Strategic Space Systems of the Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office. Lieutenant Colonel Johnson's acquisition leadership in 2018 transformed the way the Department of Defense procures its highest sensitivity space systems. He jump-started a first-ever resilient space acquisition program when he formed a 10-organization team in only 5 months, slashed a 10-year program plan to deliver in 22 months, and delivered a one-of-a-kind, president-directed strategic space and ground system to operational readiness while increasing the mission capability by 600%. Lieutenant Colonel Johnson also stood up a brand new division, executing a $3 billion-plus portfolio with more than 600 personnel and over 30 organizations tuned to deliver rapid space capabilities to the warfighter. Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Colonel Robert Johnson. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the individual honored for his exceptional service to this country and its space program, our Goddard Memorial Trophy winner, Mr. Robert Lightfoot, Jr. Following an impressive career spanning 30 years at NASA, Mr. Lightfoot retired last April after having served as the acting administrator for 15 months, the longest tenure for an acting administrator in the agency's history. Mr. Lightfoot led NASA at a critical time in the history of space. He worked closely with the White House to support the establishment of the National Space Council, was instrumental in the development of NASA's Moon to Mars vision, as outlined in Space Policy Directive 1, and championed major advancements across exploration, science, and aeronautics. In his last public remarks before leaving NASA, he imparted some final guidance to the community on managing risk and increasing decision velocity by sharing the following, quote, "My charge to each of you as I depart is strive every day to be a risk leader. This amazing endeavor will never be without risk. However, remember the benefit. We will change the world." I am now pleased to present the highest honor this evening to Mr. Robert Lightfoot, Jr.
They weren't kidding, it's heavy. So, and let me put it down. Let's see, first and foremost, I want to thank the National Space Club. On behalf of all the honorees, I'm the only one who gets to speak, right? So I want to thank the Space Club for everything that they do. This is a tremendous honor, and I'm very humbled to be recognized for this award. It's even more special, frankly, to receive it from Ann. What you guys don't know probably is she was a key person in my transition from the colonies, as I call it, down in Huntsville, to Washington, D.C., which I call the 38 square mile logic-free zone. so between Ann and the Kate Cron Millers and the Gene Toliasons and the Bill Beckmans and the Mary Lynn Ditmars of the world, you guys saved my butt when I got up here, right? Because you helped me make this, and I wouldn't have made it without the help that they gave me. So thank you. This makes it even more special for you to be here. I want to congratulate my fellow honorees. Some of these folks I know very well. In fact, I realized that I know some of them a lot more than I knew, right? When we got here this afternoon, and I just marvel at the accomplishments of these folks. Now I'm going to say this, right? So my good friend Ellen Ochoa is back there somewhere in the back, and I know she's a Stanford grad, so Morgan's going to Stanford. We heard all that, right? But I want to point out that Koki and Tim and myself, University of Alabama, 1986, roll tide. So wherever Jody Singer is, we got to tell Chuck Carr, man, you missed an opportunity here, Dean, to talk about Alabama, and maybe Morgan should reconsider the University of Alabama. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. We can talk about that later. So anyway, and I have to laugh because as the center director at Marshall Space Flight Center, I had a rule with my protocol people. I said, look, I never speak after an astronaut. That's the way it works, right? I always have to be before, because after an astronaut, nobody listens to you. So tonight, right, I thought I was speaking before Morgan. So the new rule is never speak before an amazing young lady like this. We are really honored to have these kind of folks. I've been out here with you guys a bunch, right, for the past few years, and I'll tell you, when we flipped over to the process of having the keynote be from the scholarship award winner, what an awesome thing that was for the Space Club to do. When I think about what this amazing young lady and others that are going to go forward for this, the future's in pretty good shape, right? We're okay. We're going to be all right. So, nobody gets here to this kind of spot without great support from your family and friends. My wife, Caroline, who's back there somewhere, raise your hand, Caroline, wherever you are. She has put up with me moving and doing all the crazy stuff I do and getting to do what I love to do when I was at NASA. It's a great opportunity for me to do that. But as I told her when I retired, I said, while I was getting to reach for the stars, you kept me grounded, right? And you reminded me I'm just that awkward geek from the University of Alabama that you met, wearing sandals and cut-off blue jeans years ago. So she's always done that. Love you, babe. Thank you for everything you do there. So my daughters, right? My daughters are back there too somewhere, and so my daughter Kelsey and Haley, both of them, I'm just super proud of these girls. They have grown up to be just fine young women and in their own fields, and as they say all the time, they cannot believe I ran NASA because I'm just their goofy dad, right? This guy that they're like, really? How can that be? So, which by the way, my dad even says to me. My dad always goes, they really want you to lead NASA? Really? What the heck is wrong with these people? Anyway, but it's been fun. And when I left NASA, to my LSync family, there's an LSync group back there, Alicia Weldon and James Bullington. When I left NASA, I went to work for these guys, and they're here tonight. And, a lot of the folks in this room are what I call my work family. You guys know that. Most of you know who that is. And there's nothing like a work family that makes a difference. These guys, Alicia and James in particular, have adopted me into the LSync family, and thank you so much for letting me come in and really being patient with me every time I say, well, at NASA, we did. Good folks back there. I hope you guys get to see them later. I was looking back at the past winners of this award, and this is usually a team award, right? And it's not given to an individual. And frankly, I feel that way tonight. I feel like this is a team award for my NASA folks. I wouldn't be here without my NASA team. And Jim, I apologize tonight. They're going to be my team, if that's okay, right? I get to still claim them. These folks are dedicated to the mission in ways that most Americans simply just don't understand. And frankly, we'll never get to experience. Every one of you is part of a mission, and you know what I'm talking about. It's just a different thing. We owe these public servants our thanks for mustering through all the crap, and yes, that's a technical term. If you think about the shutdown, and you think about all the things they went through in the past few days, they still make the impossible possible. You guys get to do that every day. It's just unbelievable what you get to do. And these are the giants, the folks today doing the work, just like the folks that did the work before I came on board and all the current folks came on board. These are the folks whose shoulders, the giants whose shoulders Morgan's generation will stand on and be able to do what they do. So if you could do me a favor, hang on, do me a favor. If you were part of my team when I was the acting administrator in NASA, if you could please stand, I'd like to give you guys a big round of applause because you're part of me being up here today. So y'all stand, come on, don't be shy. Y'all, you NASA guys. You guys have no idea what they put up with when I was up there, right? I made them do some crazy stuff, and they actually went, oh, okay. Now, and actually, honestly, when I said we would run, for those of you that remember, my first comment was when I became acting administrator, we're going to run till we're apprehended, right? Because we had a budget, right? The Congress had given us a budget. Why should we stop, right? Well, 458 days later, I'm going, is somebody going to stop me or what, right? So anyway, but... So these guys put up with a lot of stuff, and I'm sure they were holding their breath, and after about 90 days, they went, man, are we going to get Jim in here or not? What's the deal? Anyway, so I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm going to single out 4 people that were really part of my internal team that actually allowed me to do what I did and allowed this agency to do what it could do. The first is Andrew Hunter. Andrew, where are you? Please stand out there wherever you are. He's way back there in the back. Oh, my God. So Andrew took on the role of acting CFO for a long time, right? He was just as long as I was. Andrew, your leadership and your service and advice and counsel to me were top-notch, and I depend on it every day. I understand you've just announced your retirement. Congratulations, my friend. But if there was ever a CFO that would be standing here to win the Goddard Award, that's the man. So, thank you, Andrew. The second is Tom Crimmins. Tom, where you at? Out there, TC, there he is back there in the back. So Tom was my partner in crime for a lot of reasons. We spent a lot of time at the Dubliner. It's all good. And he helped me with strategy and setting where we were going. With the new administration, we did a lot to decide whether it was going to be Clinton or Trump. We didn't know, right? So we had to do a lot of work to decide how we were going to talk to the administrations when they came in. And folks like Chris Shank were great in helping us get what we did when we got there. Oftentimes, I might have been the only one in the room that could speak Crimmins. And those of you that know that know what I'm talking about. And I would translate it to my team going forward. But I could not have asked for a more stable and steady hand throughout my time going forward. The next is Krista Paquin. Krista came in after Lisa Rowe left. And I was really kind of struggling because I needed the people to support me. There's times when you need folks to do it. She kept the ball rolling on some of the things we were doing and quickly became my confidant. KP, as I called her, really took the reins and ran with it. And to have found such a good friend and a colleague to come in after Lisa was a godsend. And the fourth person, of course, is Lisa Rowe. Lisa was my right-hand person. Lisa's back there somewhere. If there's anybody that should be up here with me, it's Lisa, honestly. Lisa was just my right hand for several years, and she helped me run the agency like no other partner could have. She's wicked smart, for those of you that don't know her. She's wicked smart, great with people, and will always be my sounding board when I'm trying to make big decisions. I used to chuckle about Steve Cash and Jody Singer used to talk about being a work wife and all this stuff. That was my work wife, was Lisa, because she was so helpful. She's the person that saw the side of me y'all never saw, right? Because Lisa was the one I could go in and shut the door, and I could scream and yell, and she would go, relax, Robert. And I'd walk out the room, hey, I'm good. So she let stuff get out of my system, and I would leave the office much calmer than I went in. So Lisa, thank you. And by default, thank you, Ralph, for letting her come to D.C. and help me through that process. So I know I'm standing between you guys and the functions out here, because I've been out here where you are for a long time. So I'm going to close with 2 quotes that I think are pretty important. One is about engineering, and I know we all think our world is really black and white, right? Most engineers are pretty black and white, and I think this quote really signifies to me the challenge that we all face every day as industry, government, it doesn't really matter, right? And it's a quote by the British structural engineer Dr. A.R. Dykes in 1976. Engineering is the art of modeling materials we do not wholly understand into shapes we cannot precisely analyze, so as to withstand forces we cannot properly assess, in such a way that the public has no reason to suspect the extent of our ignorance. Now, I think about that when I think about my comment about risk leadership that Ann talked about when I was at the Space Symposium. And then I think about that when Neil and Buzz took their flight to the moon. Whew. Anyway, okay. That is risk leadership, my friend, in a big way. The last quote I'm going to share with you is from Major General Perry Smith, the Air Force. And it talks about, from his book called Rules and Tools for Leaders. There is no activity in the human endeavor that is more fascinating, more challenging, and more rewarding than leading an organization with an important mission. Each of you every day, do not take for granted the fact that you lead an organization with an important mission. Whether it's the DoD, whether it's NASA, own it. It's something bigger than each of you individually. You lead those organizations, you lead them well, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead NASA for such a short period of time. Thank you.
Before we wrap up the formal part of the evening, permit me the opportunity to thank the people who made tonight and this entire year a success for the National Space Club. Events like this do not come together without a tremendous amount of work. Whew. First, an enormous thank you to my fellow Space Club board members for their time, dedication, and enthusiasm throughout this year, starting with our Goddard dinner chair, Bill Beckman. And the board, Mike Fox. Where are you, Mike? John Larrabee, Dr. Lisa Monaco, Susan Nelson, Gary Testuke, and Pete Traynor. A special thanks to the Washington Hilton staff, including Karen Fekadis and Executive Chef Andre Cote for a wonderful dinner. Further credit goes to Executive Director Annette Summers, Sheila Crowley, and the rest of the dedicated and team at Jafrita. On a more personal note, a huge thanks to my many Lockheed Martin colleagues who help with everything from the program design to the script to the setting up a Mars landscape in our hospitality suite and many other parts of tonight's program. It is a privilege to work with some of the most talented people in aerospace, so thank you to my Lockheed Martin colleagues. Lastly, as a special nod to the Apollo anniversary, we have moon pies for each and every one of you as you depart this evening's festivities. But the night is still young. We invite you to enjoy the hospitality suites hosted by our corporate members. And as you leave, please take a moment to remind yourself why you do what you do. Your work supports science, exploration, the youth, and especially the many servicemen and women who defend this great country. Thank you, and good night.